So I spoke to him. It was the day he went. Excuse me. The day he went missing was actually on his father's birthday. I said okay, and then after that, I didn't speak to him anymore. But he took his dad to dinner, and brother to dinner, and he dropped them off. I pay attention to behaviors, and so I noticed that something was off, and so I called, and he wasn't answering the phone, and then it kept going to voicemail, and so when he missed his meeting, I knew that something was wrong. So I called the police, and they said we had to wait a certain amount of time because you can't report anything that fast. So I went out, was just thinking the worst. Like, I'm like, what could happen? Like, did somebody kidnap him or what? Because there was a time
when they did their search, according to reports, they ended up finding him in the garage.
Late April 2014, a young rapper-producer by the name of Derek McAllister, aka Speaker Knockerz, was in conversation with his mother, Mesha Wilson. The topic revolved around two things. First, they talked about the different things Speaker Knockerz intended to be doing at that point in time in his life. The second thing was something familiar to the journey of life for a teenager: love. Speaker Knockerz had a girlfriend at the time, and the situation between them both had friction that led to a fallout. His mother, whom he trusted as someone who could help fix whatever roadblocks he encountered in his life, stepped in and assisted in resolving the issue. Little did she know, that would be the last face-to-face interaction she would have with her son.
He had a girlfriend at the time. And he said, right before this happened, before he called me, he always used to say like certain things. And I told him, I said, son, you may have more money than me, you may have more than me. I said, but you don't have the wisdom that I have. You're always going to need your mom, so never forget that. And so he always had this saying, mom, fix it.
A couple of days later, on March 4th, 2014, things would take an eerie turn for the worst, leading to his untimely passing. What made it even more heartbreaking was that it was his father's birthday, in which Speaker Knockerz ended up in the situation that claimed his life. His mother would speak to him over the phone earlier in the day. It seemed he trusted her with sharing his plans of the future and goals he wanted to accomplish, because this conversation was about businesses he'd like to venture into on his own that wasn't under his parents' name. His mother would advise him on the best routes to get things set up before Speaker Knockerz told her he would speak to her later, and he was in preparation to take his brother and his father to dinner for his father's birthday.
On his father's birthday, and we were talking about some business that he was trying to get on his own instead of having it like in his parents' name. So I was talking to him and telling him what he needed to do or whatever. And so he was like, well, I'll talk to you later, Mom, because I'm going to take Dad and, my brother to dinner because we were separated. So he said he was going to take his father and brother to dinner for his father's birthday.
Everything was going as planned. Speaker Knockerz did in fact take out his brother and father to dinner to celebrate his father's birthday. At around 11 p.m. that night, he dropped off his father and told him that he would be back. That, unfortunately, never happened. With the following day, March 5th, 2014, coming around, his father awoke with still no return of his son or any contact from him. He would call Speaker Knockerz's mother, asking if she heard from him, as he was supposed to return to collect something, but he never did.
And brother to dinner, and he dropped them off, and he told his father, I'll be back. And I think it was like 11 something or something, and he never came back. And so he called me, I think his dad called me that morning, and he asked me, did I hear from Derek? So I said no. He said because he left something here or something like that. It's so long ago. But he said he left something here, and he said he was coming back, but he never came back.
At this point, his mother was already worried because she knew her son. Speaker Knockerz was a man of his word, and if he had stated he's coming back, then that's exactly what he would do. Her fears of something being wrong would grow even stronger as the days progressed. no matter how much she dialed his phone, it would continue going to voicemail with no response. Speaker Knockerz also had a meeting to attend to that he never showed up to. If there was one thing that Speaker Knockerz was very conscious and focused on, was his business endeavors. So the fact that he didn't show up to his business meeting was more than enough to raise the antennas of his mother's instincts to the point where she knew her son was in danger.
I just was just thinking the worst. Like, I'm like, what could happen? Like, did somebody kidnap him or what? Because there was a time where I came home from selling cake on a Saturday and my window was broken. Somebody in the neighborhood or somewhere took a brick and they broke my window, and then they got on Twitter and was bragging about it.
At this point, she sprang into action, taking her concerns to the police station, where she requested assistance in finding her son, and she knew something wasn't right. However, the 24-hour time frame had not passed where they had no contact with Speaker Knockerz, so the police couldn't yet treat the situation as a case where her son was missing. She tried to get some rest and told Speaker Knockerz's father that they'll contact the police again if they didn't find him before the 24-hour time frame. That turned out to be an impossible task for his mother to do, as her mind and instinct was too strong to ignore and just sleep. Around 3 a.m., she would jump up from her sleep with the intensified feeling that something was not right. It was then that she tried to call the police again, but she was again told that they wouldn't be able to dispatch help until the time frame had elapsed. But as soon as personnel for the department arrives at 8 a.m. in the morning, they would give her a call to provide some assistance.
Got up, like I was sleeping, and then something just woke me up, like about maybe 3 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And I got up and I sat up in my bed and I said, something is not right. So I called the police again. I said, please, you gotta help us. I said, something is not right. And so they said, ma'am, we cannot, you have to wait, at least wait till at least 8 o'clock or something like that when, that division gets in, and we'll have somebody to call.
His mother was adamant something happened to her son, so she took it upon herself to leave home in the wee hours of the night, driving around to places where she thought he could be, or to even check around to see if he may have crashed and unable to get help from where he was. She was doing everything in her power to try and locate her son. Unable to find him, she got back home and went to sleep for a few hours before sunrise.
I said I called the police and they said there's nothing they could do right now. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like enough, because I know my son and he doesn't miss money and he sure doesn't miss meetings. Like, he doesn't give his word and not keep it. And so I'm like, for him not to miss the meeting and to miss his studio time, that's not him. So I just started, I was in the middle of the night and I was just driving around and going to different places and ditches and all kind of stuff to see if maybe I could find him, or if he was somewhere, or maybe he crashed, or I don't know. I'm not saying that he used to drink or anything like that, but I just didn't know what, so I just...
The morning of March 6, 2014 came, and in an attempt of desperation, she turned to social media for assistance, as her son still couldn't be found or contacted. In the post, she made it known that Speaker Knockerz was last seen on March 4th, 2014 at 11 p.m., and he was driving in his 2013 black Camaro. Posting and updating everyone for helping in finding her son, the police finally got into action, got the missing persons report, and went on a search for Speaker Knockerz. At the time, her mind was bombarded with thoughts on what could have happened to her son. One haunting thought was that he was kidnapped, because she recalled in the past, in an area they used to live, she arrived home to find her window broken, and the culprit went on to Twitter, being the one who did the deed.
I just was just thinking the worst. I'm like, what could happen? Like, did somebody kidnap him or what? Because there was a time where I came home from selling cake on a Saturday and my window was broken. Somebody in the neighborhood or somewhere took a brick and they broke my window, and then they got on Twitter and was bragging about it.
While her mind was exploring the possibilities of what could have happened, she continued praying. Sadly, the police would locate her son's deceased body in the garage beside his black Camaro at a South Carolina home. Reports state that the coroner, Gary Watts, said foul play was not suspected, and an autopsy found no signs of trauma. The toxicology report was in the works and would reveal if any substances were what led to the passing of the young rising star. The news quickly spread throughout the media of the young prodigy's passing. Friend and collaborator Zach Dillon, who directed many of the artist's videos, was among other mourners like Young Dolph, Gucci Mane, and the late Fredo Santana. Speaker Knockerz's mother was almost in shock and denial, unable to even believe her son was just gone. His brother, who follows in his music footsteps, Christian McAllister, aka Lil Knock, was only 16 years old and in high school when he had to face the reality of his bigger brother being gone.
I found out my brother passed away when I was 16. I was in high school.
With news of the South Carolina rapper Speaker Knockerz's passing reverberating through the city, the question began swirling around of how he passed. Speculations began spreading that it was due to an overdose, and others stated it was a heart attack. His mother, however, would later deny any of those theories, stating her son didn't pass away because of an overdose, nor did he have a heart attack. But she chose to not disclose the cause of the passing due to not being ready to open up about losing her son. There have been some sites, however, like popular news outlet The Sun, which issue contradicting statements, revealing that the toxicology report did allegedly state that Speaker Knockerzz overdosed on codeine syrup, which induced a heart attack. Whatever the reason for his passing, one thing is certain: a young, talented, and ambitious, driven artist and producer was lost. From a young kid, even after being separated from his father for 12 years due to him having to serve time behind bars, Speaker Knockerzz still persevered, and his father stuck by his side, doing everything he could to propel him further, even while behind bars. Speaker Knockerzz was inspired to pursue a career in the music industry after seeing how Soulja Boy created a lane for himself. His mother would try to tell him to have other plans just in case his plan A didn't work. But Speaker Knockerzz was confident his music career was going to be successful, and that's exactly what it became before his untimely passing.
A plan B and C just in case your A doesn't work out. And he says, Mom, and he chuckled. He said, Mom, I'm not going to need that because my plan A is going to work. You just watch. Like that. And I said, okay, son. I said, but you know, it's good to have a backup plan. He said, Mom, I'm telling you, I don't need one.
He went on to create an extensive catalog of music and made beats for mainstream artists like Gucci Mane, 2 Chainz, and Meek Mill, among others. Speaker Knockerzz was doing all of this without being signed to a major label. He wanted to have control of his music and build his own empire and not wait for someone to see his worth. So he remained independent and launched his own entertainment group named Tail Bands Entertainment. The final music video he recorded was for the song Erica Kane, which was released after his passing on May 22, 2014. Speaker Knockerz's impact on the music industry is remembered to this day, influencing some of the industry's biggest artists like A Boogie with the Hoodie and Kodak Black, who remixed his hit song Lonely. His legacy will forever live on. Rest in peace, Speaker Knockerzz.